What screams I'm upper class? Being offhand about things that are very expensive for the plebeians. I've found that many rich people are less obnoxious about showing off wealth than are people who are almost rich that feel they have to match up to people who make more than they do. It seems that for the genuinely upper class, money is simply not a factor, by which I mean they will buy what they want without worrying about if what they want is cheap or expensive. If they are buying some wine, for example, they'll buy wine they think tastes nice. If that wine costs hundreds or more a bottle, so be it. If it's store brand plonk, so be it. They don't feel the need to buy the most expensive of whatever it is they are buying. Being related to the Queen or having a title, the only things that would deem someone to be upper class in the UK. Everything else is upper middle class: doctors, lawyers, etc.
This video is brought to you by Fiverr, the biggest, most affordable, and overall the best freelance website there is. It's a place where you can hire anyone from writers to designers and everyone in between for as little as $5. It's absolutely the best place to save time and money for your projects. But if you want to take your business a step further, we would highly recommend Fiverr Pro, a place where you can work with verified, hand-vetted, exceptionally talented professionals that have, with their work for companies like Google or Apple, proven to be the best in their category. Link in the description below.
Wearing tailor-fitted custom clothes. True wealth don't mess with labels and all the things lower class folks try to prove worth by wearing. Edit. Bespoke clothing was what I meant. Pre-coffee me forgot there was a word for what I was trying to describe. I just knew what it looks like and the type who wear it. If you would believe it, a new combine harvester. Those duckers can easily cost over $500,000 with enough options on them, and there are farmers who buy a brand new one every year. Taxes. Just like cars, they lose most of the dollar value immediately. So you use it 1 year and sell it to one of your other farms, taking a capital loss and other deductions, without having had to pay anything for maintenance/repair. Combined with the kickback you get from the dealership, it reduces your yearly cost to nearly nothing. I remember when I went to uni, I opted to stay in the most expensive halls. I was just young and stupid with money, so I ended up living with a bunch of affluent farmers and the like. As a city boy from a working class family, I was well out my depth, and some of the conversations I had went straight over my head. I remember one girl talking about how a private detective had followed her dad for a while. She said we could just about see his car at the bottom of the drive. I stopped her and said, "What do you mean you could barely see his car?" She explained it was a long driveway. The thought of having a driveway leading up to your house so long that you could barely see a car at the end of it just blew my tiny mind. My best friend was discussing the fact she wanted chicken nuggets when another friend goes, "Chicken? Chicken nuggets? I prefer lamb nuggets honestly," screamed upper class. Don't know how to describe it, but there is a certain type of confidence you get when you have many multiple digits in your bank account. Upper class people don't seem to get pushed around. Pulling up perfectly beautiful $100,000 floors to put in different $100,000 floors. I worked for folks who did this. Lessons I learned from my wealthy college roommate: be the country club I work at and see estranged old money family members. 1. Keep good care of what you have. They didn't need to buy new all the time. They invested in what they had to keep it in a pristine condition, and they rarely had to flaunt with the latest gadget. 2. More money in the bank. They rarely spent, unless in their business or education. Most of their money was stowed away in an account, trust, or long-term project. Money makes more money. 3. If you have to tell people you're rich, you're doing too much. Money should speak for itself, but more so, a person's ethics should speak louder. These folks are always hustling and in a workaholic mindset. Very serious, very practical, and always looking 2 steps ahead. 4. Small but sincere company. They don't need a huge audience. Lots of these folks keep a quaint circle of trusted friends, and these relationships stretch for a long time. Neighbors of 20 years, golfing partner for 10, kids growing up together. 5. A larger price tag doesn't mean it's better. Some of the stuff they had on them was dollar store quality, but they like bargains and not having addition waste. That depends on which country you are from. In the UK, being upper class is not about money, but having come from the right family. I live in an upper class neighborhood, and usually right around 7 I get on my golf cart with my blowhorn and start screaming I'm a perkless until right around 9:15. Oh my god, I'm on my lunch break right now. This literally just happened. Work at Starbucks. We clean the bathrooms frequently. Because of our open door policy, anybody can use them, so we stay on top to keep them clean. Dude in an expensive suit and watch came up to order, immediately got red in the face, angry, and shouted, "You were just scrubbing a toilet. I'm not ordering here. Ever. Again." Bro. Every toilet ever needs to be cleaned. Every bathroom in every public space gets cleaned by an employee. We take sanitary conditions very seriously. It's not like I was fishing for turds with bare hands and then dunking my thumbs in your coffee. Would you rather nobody clean the bathroom ever? Did you think we had a separate guy who only cleans the bathroom? Seriously, dude. Being a regular at the high-end restaurant, guy I know eats there with his family every other day, recommends the steak. It's $150 a plate. I work in a private school with international boarding students. At the end of each school year, students leave behind computers, gaming systems, Apple Watches, designer clothes, etc. They just leave it. The true mark of the upper class is being totally removed from the reality of other humans, evidenced by statements that scream "I don't know how the rest of America lives." Examples: you work too much, take some time off to travel. Related: you got a job right after college. You've got a whole life ahead of you for work. Why not spend a few months in Europe getting life experience? My roommate is scared of his shadow cause this is the first time he's lived in a middle class situation. If the door is unlocked for more than walking in and out, has under the assumption that someone's just gonna walk in and attack us. He also thought a fairly decent neighborhood was the ghetto once. Edit: this is not an apartment building. Me and 2 roommates share a house in a middle class neighborhood, and the locking of the doors is obsessive as locking it during a cookout with friends, so people couldn't freely move in and out. Edit 2. I'm just editing cause I didn't realize how polarizing this would be. To all you people who lock your doors obsessively, do you not open your windows in the summer? Isn't that just hypocritical? I grew up in a house where the act didn't go on unless it was in the 90s or higher. The house will be open. That's part of life. I come from a rather wealthy family and I've noticed a pattern. They never say they're rich. They always say the exact same phrase: "We live comfortably" every time. I say I live comfortably, but I'm quite poor. I do live comfortable. I have enough food, a warm place to sleep, a car, appliances, and a bit of money to buy comic books. I get your point, but pointing out it can mean something different. I've slept on the floor, had no heat, no fridge, no stove, not enough to eat. This is very comfortable to me. My cousin from a poor family married into a very wealthy family. We are talking NBA regulation court, have US presidents over for dinner, donate $10 million to charities, wealthy. My cousin was engaged at the time of this incident. He's an honest dude and doesn't take handouts. His 98 Ford F-150 breaks down, so he's riding his bike to work. Fiance's father finds out and shows up unannounced at his work. Hands my cousin the keys to the brand new Tundra he bought 2 days ago. Cousin is overwhelmed, can't believe it. Cousin asks why, and this is when my cousin realized they were wealthy. His future father-in-law tells him it's because my cousin loved his daughter before he knew about their money. And he finishes up with, "Plus I wanted a different one." Proceeds to walk across the parking lot and gets into even newer truck. 2 fully tricked out Tundras, running about $70K each. In 3 days. No big deal, that man is humble as hell. If you met him, you'd never know his wealth unless you went to his house. not at all wealthy, but I went to a private school. My teacher told me that this girl in another class came to do his exam in beach type clothing, flip-flops and everything. We lived almost 1,000 miles from the nearest beach. When she turned in the exam paper, my teacher joked, "Are you going to the beach?" She said yes. I was with my family there. I took my dad's private jet to come, do your exam and head back. I went to one of the most expensive private schools in my country, and the difference between the could only afford to go here with a scholarship kids like me that can afford it, but it's a significant financial burden kids, and though this is a rounding error on the family budget kids is amazing. Generally it's actually those in the middle group that were the worst. Status conscious, materialistic, constantly trying to one-up each other. The kids from the really rich families were for the most part extremely kind and well-meaning, if a little naive about some things. I remember one time I went to a classmate's house to work on an assignment together, and he apologized for his house being kind of old and run down. This was a beautiful and immaculately restored 1920s mansion on a huge block in one of the most expensive areas in the country that must have been at least 3 times the size of my family home, complete with 2 swimming pools and a tennis court. Hosting parties every night all summer in your house while you spy on the married woman across the river that used to love you, waiting to meet someone at those parties who knows the married woman so that you can be reintroduced and fall in love again and regain what was lost. Your roommates not understanding why one save leftovers. My parents both comes from homes where you don't waste anything. The grandparents lived on an island in the middle of the Baltic Sea during the rationing of WW2, and you couldn't just order more meat at a whim. But the mates complained about Tupperware cluttering the fridge, taking up place from cooling their waters and booze. Also not being able to get into their head that you could in fact be too low on cash not to be able to treat oneself with different actions or products. I've had roomies/co-workers that were definitely not upper class. In some cases they just barely qualified to be middle if even that, but they hated leftovers and insisted on treating themselves to nails/hair/new outfits and going out almost every weekend. Some thought my leftovers were gross, and why don't I treat myself every weekend too? Yep. Some of the poorest people I know don't live very frugally. My ex's family refused to save leftovers and would cook way too much, so week 1 they'd be throwing away half a pot of chili, week 2 they'd be eating pudding cups for dinner because the grocery money was gone, and that was all that was left. It was incredibly frustrating to watch. Edit. Changing their habits wouldn't change the total amount of income they had to be not poor. It just would have made their lives a lot more comfortable. I know poor people who are frugal too. It's just a lot less obvious since they make wise choices with their money, but being frugal doesn't magically make you rich or anything. Best comment of the day. There is a huge difference between the Navo rich in contrast to the traditional upper class, as many comments in the video point. Also, upper class in Europe in contrast to America have hugely different implications, as a comment in the video also pointed out. In Europe, upper class much more describes an actual upper class that is a very old structure of social culture and values often in combination with social connections. The nobility is a big part of it, but it is not exclusive to the nobility. The same goes for countries like Japan as well, while in the US it seems to be much more synonymous to wealth.